Hey guys, it's time for my 2013 bookshelf tour. Yay! And you know what that means? It means it's a really long video. So, before you get comfy, make sure you get a drink, popcorn, ice cream, whatever suits your fancy, because I'm going to go through all my books on all my bookshelves. Of course, I'll let you know which ones I have and haven't read, so if you have any questions, I may or may not be able to answer them. Thanks for joining me on this journey, and I'll see you on the other side. So before I get into a lot of detail about the books, I figured I'd give you an overview of my shelves. This is my first bookshelf. I have 4 bookshelves now, as I did last year. However, one of them's a much bigger new one, and one of my old bookshelves now houses DVDs and TV shows and the like. So this is my new bookshelf, which comes in very handy for putting lots of books on. And you can see I have a Yankee Candle collection at the top. And then this is my third bookshelf. This is the one you see when I film in front of. It isn't nearly as big as some people might think it is. And then my last bookshelf is actually above my bed, and I'll get there later. That is where I keep all of the books I have not read, more or less. Some of the coffee table books that I have over here I have not read either, but obviously I'm not going to stick those above my head on my bed, so yeah. Alrighty, so this is the top of my first bookshelf that I told you. This picture is of me in high school, back when I played the clarinet. I just think it's really cool. One of my best friend's sisters was doing a photography project, and she was doing it on, band members and playing musical instruments and stuff. So it was really cool. I like it. The first book that I have is Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson. This has had a resurgence recently in terms of popularity, but it's definitely worth the read. I recommend it for sure. Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Jonathan Safran Foer. A lot of people love this book. I actually didn't care for it. I just was not feeling it. 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. This is another really popular young adult book that I, once again, did not feel the same way as everyone else. The Gathering by Anne Enright. This is an adult literary fiction novel about an Irish family and the trials and tribulations that they go through. The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. I love how artsy this cover is, but I don't love The Catcher in the Rye the way other people do. All American Girl by Meg Cabot. Love this book. Read it when I was younger, and it's just so much fun. It's a fantastic book. Dead Until Dark by Charlaine Harris. This is the first book in the Sookie Stackhouse series, which is what True Blood is based off of. I haven't gotten any farther than this book, but it was an enjoyable read, though. If I had a chance to grab the rest of the series, I would. Nighttime is My Time by Mary Higgins Clark. She's a really big mystery thriller writer. I don't really remember the details of this book, but I remember liking it. Mary Jane Clark, Dancing in the Dark, same sort of thing. Another mystery thriller book that I read. Don't remember the plot. No, I liked it though. Then we have the first 2 books in the Stephanie Plum series by Janet Ivanovich. One for the Money, which the movie just came out relatively recently. I haven't seen it, but I heard it was really bad. And Two for the Dough, the second book in the series. I'm sure if I grabbed the other ones, I would keep going, but those are the only 2 I have right now. Then I have A is for Alibi by Sue Grafton. This is the Alphabet Murder series. I have not read any of the other ones. I just happen to have this one. Ghosts in the Hills by Matthew Pierce. This was a book that was sent to me for review. I have a review of this book on my channel. It's about an underdog high school football team. Feel free to find it and watch it if you're interested. Starfall by W.A. Fulkerson. This was another book that was sent to me for review by the author. Les and I both read a copy and did a dual review of it. When Zachary Beaver Came to Town by Kimberly Willis Holt. This is a middle grade book, and it's really good. This is A Rough Guide to First Time Europe. My parents gave this to me before I left to go study abroad, and it's definitely really helpful. I use some of the tips in here to sort of prepare and sort of get the idea of what I might be in for, but there's also extra stuff in it about each country, and so obviously I only really read the part about Austria. But if you're going to a different country in Europe, feel free to pick this book up because it applies to all of them. Testimony by Anita Shreve. This book actually takes place in Vermont, and I didn't know it when I bought it, but it was kind of cool because then I sort of felt like I knew more of what was going on in the sense of the setting, because I knew some of the places that they were mentioning. It's an alright book, and I know Anita Shreve has a lot of books, but this is the only one I've read by her. Four Perfect Pebbles by Leila Pearl and Marion Blumenthal-Lazan. This is a Holocaust story. And lastly, from right here, we have The Ghosts and Legends of Lake Champlain. I just read this book for the Booktubeathon this year, and I live in Vermont, as you've already figured out, and I worked on this boat, and Lake Champlain, I live right near there, so this was sort of a fun, know your area kind of book. We have the last little corner of this shelf. Sorry about the window light starting to filter in there. Candle. Very handy flashlight if the power ever goes out. I have my German phrase book that my friends got me before I left for Austria, and this actually came in very handy. I would recommend grabbing a little one of these books before you go abroad. It's About Time. This is by Mike Flanagan. It's just one of those fun little coffee table books that I read in like half an hour. Mad Kings and Queens by Alison Rattle and Alison Vale. This is just about mad kings and queens in history. Pretty self-explanatory. Duh, the stupid history of the human race. Just stupid humans doing stupid things. One of my favorites, this is The Little Known Facts About Well-Known Places Walt Disney World edition by Laurie Flannery. I love Walt Disney World, and it was really fun reading these. I knew some of them, but I didn't know all of them. Lastly, we have Unholy Popes by Bob Curran. Les got me this book a couple years ago, and it's about popes who have not been so good in their time as pope. I don't even know what to call it. Their popedom. They haven't been so good in their popedom. This is the second shelf on my first bookshelf that I'm showing you. This is just cool musical instrument decorative stuff. So in this corner, we have the middle grade series Island, book 1, 2, and 3. The first book is Shipwreck, and these are by Gordon Corman. The second book is Survival, and book 3 is Escape. And I also have, in the same vein, book 1, The Contest, same guy, but this one's about Everest. These are just cool stories about kids doing things that kids don't normally have to go through. Dancing in Cadillac Light by Kimberly Willis Holt. This is a fantastic middle grade book. I love it. Then I have my Roald Dahl collection. I have The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar and 6 more. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Matilda, my favorite, The Twits, and SEO Trot. Next, I have Just Ella by Margaret Peterson Haddix. This was also made into a movie with Anne Hathaway, but the book is really, really good, especially compared to the movie. Oh, it looks like the BFG got pushed to the side. I also have the BFG as part of my Roald Dahl collection. And we'll just move that so it's actually next to the other Roald Dahl books. Then I have part of the Little House on the Prairie series by Laura Ingalls Wilder. Obviously, Little House on the Prairie. On the Banks of Plum Creek, By the Shores of Silver Lake, Little Town on the Prairie. I also have The First 4 Years. I have 2 sort of companion novels. They're in the same vein as the Laura Ingalls Wilder books, but they're not by her. We have On the Other Side of the Hill by Roger Leah McBride. I believe they're supposed to be about her daughter, the Rose. This was her daughter, I believe, so this is the Rose years. And Little Town at the Crossroads, and there's the Caroline years. Maybe she had another daughter named Caroline. I honestly don't remember. This one's by Maria D. Wilkes. Sonata No. 1 for Riley Red by Phoebe Stone. I actually met the author, and she signed the inside of this book with a little kitty cat because I love cats, and we were talking about cats when I got this book signed by her. This was a long time ago, by the way. Molly Moon's Incredible Book of Hypnotism by Georgia Bing. I love this book, and I also love this cover. This is Death's Avenger by Diana Rollman. This was a friend of a family friend's book. She was really young when she wrote it, and it was sort of like my influence when I was younger to keep writing, and now I don't like writing as much anymore, but she signed this book for me and said, you know, good luck on your own writing. And then we have the rest of this bookshelf. First we have my really, really beat up copy of The Stand by Stephen King. This has been passed down through multiple people, and it's obviously got the TV series cover on it, but it is definitely a huge, impactful book if you're looking for something ginormous to read. Then I have The Naked Roommate and 107 other issues you might run into in college. My family got this for me before I left for school my first year. Obviously now I'm much more versed in these things, but I can thank Harlan Cohen for some extra tips. Then I have The Sword of Shannara by Terry Brooks. This is a big fantasy series that I only have the first book of. It's just volume 1. I don't have the other ones. This was given to me as a gift, and I'm not a huge high fantasy reader, so I never went on in the series. Then I have the Little Black Book of Walt Disney World. Once again, just adding to my little Walt Disney World collection. And I actually use this all the time to sort of remind me of what restaurants are there and what their prices are, things like that. This book will change your life, 365 daily instructions for hysterical living. Basically, if you're looking to make your life more exciting, you can do one of these things every day. It's just fun pages. It's in the same vein, actually, as like Wreck Your Journal, but it's not by the same person. Carrie Smith's How to Be an Explorer of the World. This is the same person who did Wreck This Journal. This is just for a portable life museum and just kind of being more aware of what's around you. A guidebook to the Newport Mansions. This is just a little picture book kind of thing that I have read in the past. Tales of Terror in the Caves of the World. This is by Paul J. Stewart, and it's just people who have gone down into caves and never come out, or, you know, creepy things like that. I got this after I visited Carlsbad Caverns, so appropriate. Lastly, I have Under Wing by Reeve Lindbergh. This is the daughter of Charles Lindbergh. It's a memoir. Oh, I do have a memoir. She's a Vermont author, and I met her and she signed the book, and she, you know, told me to keep writing. Once again, this was during my writing stage, so thanks, Reeve. So this is the bottom of my first bookshelf, the last shelf on this bookcase. The first book that I have is Lord of the Rings Official Movie Guide by Brian Sibley, and this just has information about the characters and the actors and sort of the work that went into creating the movie. Next to that I have Les's book, which I can't show you. Then I have the Walt Disney World Expert Advice from Inside Sources Birnbaum's 2007 official guide. This was just, my family went on a trip then, so I had gotten the book in sort of prep for doing research myself. I organized a lot of the trip myself at 15 just because I really wanted to go. Then I have 2 travel books. The first is about Washington, D.C. These are books that I got for like $1 somewhere. And this is the photos, one about Washington, D.C., because we went to Washington, D.C. And then I have one about London, which I did not use when I went to London. Then I have 35,000 Baby Names by Bruce Lansky. I have no desire to have children at this point, but I use it all the time, or at least I used to use it a lot, for coming up with baby names when I used to play Sims all the time. And when you're writing character names, it's fun to have different options besides the normal ones. Then I have the George W. Bush Out of Office Countdown Handbook. I'm a Democrat. I have Kid Chat, Questions to Fuel Young Minds and Mouths. This was just a fun thing to bring to camp when I used to go to camp as a kid. Then I have a couple DK pocketbooks. I have Animals of the World, Cats, which I have looked at a lot. Finally, Rocks and Minerals. National Audubon Field Guide to New England. I have never really used it, but I have it in case I ever need it. Then I have an Eyewitness DK Guide to Austria, which I read parts of before I left to go study abroad there. A Guide to Weather. If you can tell, this is like my mini coffee table book section. This just has really fun stuff about weather, specifically the parts I care about being like tornadoes and hurricanes, big things. And I have a little pocket reference guide with just converting things into different measurements. It was like a free little book that I got one time, and I figure it might come in handy someday. The Little Giant Book of Optical Illusions by Keith Kay, just fun little illusions on every page. And I have the Norman Rockwell 332 magazine covers. He used to draw a lot of the covers for the Saturday Evening Post, I believe. He has a museum in Stockbridge, Massachusetts, and I went there. Then I had this little feng shui book. It's just like one of those fun little things somebody gave me as a gift. And I have the Kids Almanac for the 21st Century. I loved these books. They just have fun facts, probably some of which aren't relevant anymore because this was probably published in like 2000. And then I have a Scholastic Book of World Records for 2002. A lot of these probably aren't legitimate anymore either because it's been over 10 years. Then I have the Uncle John's Gigantic Bathroom Reader. I have, in fact, read the entire thing. And then I have the Biggest Ever Bathroom Reader, which is another Uncle John's book. I also read every single thing in this one too. And I have the Trivial Pursuit question and answer book. This is a fun thing to bring if you need to kill some time somewhere with a group of friends, you're hanging out, you can just, instead of having to play the entire game, you can just ask the questions. And then lastly, I have the mini version of the Guinness Book of World Records from 2001. Yep. Alright, top shelf of my second bookshelf. These are a lot of my really favorite books. I like to have them in all my videos because, they represent me. The first one that I have is A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray. This is part of the Gemma Doyle trilogy. Love these books. I just talked about them in my genre exploration. The second book in the series is Rebel Angels. And then the third book, A Sweet Far Thing, is going to go right here when I'm done doing my reread. It's a big book, so it needs lots of space. The Island by Victoria Hislop. This is about a Greek family through the years. I also talked about this in my genre exploration video. A Mango-Shaped Space by Wendy Mass. Another one of my favorite books, obviously. Look at the shelf that it's on. This girl has synesthesia, so she has things that she relates to colors, things that we normally wouldn't relate to colors, like numbers and people and whatnot. Into Thin Air by John Krakauer. This is about the 1996 Mount Everest disaster. Love this book. Favorite book that I have read this year so far. Candle. Actually, there's no candle in here. It's just a candle holder. Then I have the Holiday series by Kate Can. I have California Holiday, or How the World's Worst Summer Job Gave Me a Great New Life. Spanish Holiday, or How I Transformed the Worst Vacation Ever into the Best Summer of My Life. Grecian Holiday, or How I Turned Down the Best Possible Thing Only to Have the Time of My Life. And finally, Mediterranean Holiday, or How I Moved to a Tiny Island and Found the Love of My Life. Then we have A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson. This is about his experience walking the Appalachian Trail, or at least part of it. The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. They don't sell the Penguin Modern Classics versions in the US, so I actually picked this up out of the States, but I love these covers, especially this one. Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen. I read this book a long time ago, but really loved it. Have yet to see the movie. And another reason that it's on my favorite shelf is I really like the spine. Right, if we keep going, we have The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. This is also into a movie. I feel like everybody's heard of this book at this point, so don't really need to go into too much explanation about it. But I loved it. And I also have Lucky by Alice Sebold. This is a really good memoir about her rape and sort of the aftermath of it. And I have In the Woods by Tana French. Love the cover, love the story, great thriller. And I also have The Likeness by her. I don't love this one as much as I do In the Woods, but because they're by the same author, I'm going to keep them together. And they're part of the same series. Sarah's Key by Tatiana de Rosnay. Love, love, love this book so much. World War II story about the evacuation of Jews in France. Love it. Must read, everyone. There's something for everybody in that book. Then I also have A Secret Kept by her. This is not one of my favorite books, but once again, I'm just keeping the ones that are of the same author together. Plus, they were really nice, and they actually made the covers match pretty well. Same sort of style, same font and everything. Then I have Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. I like this book because of the different romances that are portrayed. It's not just one mushy-gushy romance. I like the variation in it. Pretty Little Mistakes by Heather McElhatton. This is an adult choose-your-own-adventure do-over story. I play this every year with my friends when we go camping. We read everybody's stories. You know, they make choices, and it's more adult than the versions you might have read when you were a kid. And then lastly on this shelf, I have Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. Loved this book. It was so creepy, but so awesome. I read it in only a couple hours. And then there's a little bit of space left here, and that's where Dark Places is going to go once I finish reading it, right here. So this is the second shelf on my second bookshelf. First is Super Sad True Love Story by Gary Steingart. Yeah, I love saying that last name. And I do have a review of this book on the channel. Evil of the Book by Geraldine Brooks. This takes place over you know, a period of years all about this one book. There's a World War II storyline that I really like, but I have a review of this book also. The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society by Mary Ann Sheffer and Annie Barrows. It's a good book. I like it. There's some World War II storylines in it again. The English Patient by Michael Ondaatje. I recently did a book review / movie comparison of this, so feel free to check that out. Artemis Fowl by Ian Colfer. I really like this book. I like this series. I've read more than just the first one, but I have not finished the series, and I love the shiny cover. That was what immediately attracted me to it when I was younger. One Day by David Nichols. I recently talked about this in my genre exploration video about my favorite books, and I just love the fact that you can develop a set of characters so well while only showing them once a year. Under the Tuscan Sun by Frances Mays. This is in fact related to the movie, but they're very, very different. I did a book-to-movie comparison of this, so feel free to check that out for more details. The Hidden Magic of Walt Disney World by Susan Vaness, another Walt Disney World book because, you know, I like them. This one has a lot of secrets, though, from the 4 major parks, not just Magic Kingdom, and I like that. The Lost City of Z by David Gran. I just also talked about this one in my genre exploration, but it's a nonfiction book about finding this lost city of Z in the Amazon and the modern day versus 1930s exploration and sort of the differences that those two had thanks to technology and whatnot. The Postmistress by Sarah Blake. I didn't really like this book very much, so I don't have too much to say about it. The Nanny Diaries by Emma McLaughlin and Nicola Krauss. Their lives in the Nanny Diaries book are even worse than portrayed in the movie, so. John Irving, A Prayer for Owen Meany. I only own this book because I had to buy it for my senior year of high school because we had to mark up the book as part of our summer reading. That was painful, having to mark up the book. Secret Lives of the First Ladies by Cormac O'Brien. Usually they write books focused on the presidents, but this one talks about all the first ladies and sort of their lives and who they were. With the Old Breed by E.B. Sledge. This is one of the books that the Pacific is based off of. I love the Pacific and Band of Brothers. They're the HBO, part of the HBO War series, and I loved reading this book, and I loved watching the show as well. And the other book is Helmet for My Pillow by Robert Leckie. He was one of the other people that was portrayed in the Pacific besides John Vassalone, and once again, worth a read if you love the Pacific. Blue is for Nightmares by Lori Faria Stolars. This is part of a series. It talks about Wicca and stuff like that, and I was really into that for a while. The idea of magic in real life and that sort of thing, so I got this book, but never read any of the others. TTYL by Lauren Miracle. They're written in, like somebody's having a conversation on AIM, and there's 2 other books in the series that are the same way, and they look really good together on the shelf because of the different colors, but I don't own them. The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I feel like that's a big difference there between TTYL and The Road. But this is a dystopian book, and it's written differently, but it's very impactful. Know It All by A.J. Jacobs. He goes on a quest to read the entire Britannica encyclopedias, and it's just there's different parts, different things he learns about. It's a lot to take in, but it's a good read. The Motel Life by Willie Vlotton. This was a cheap book that I got on discount for like $3. It's weird, not really worth your time. Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, another book that I had to buy for school, but I really, really like this book. It's a really good read. Chocolat by Joanne Harris. Love, love, love this movie. The book is good, but I feel like I have more of an allegiance to the film since I saw it first. My Best Friend's Girl by Dorothy Coomson. I didn't really care for this book. Just another literary fiction that, meh, whatever. A Shade of Vampire by Bella Forrest. I received this for review. Figured I'd try out a paranormal vampire romance. It was okay. Les and I did a dual review on it, so feel free to check that out. Teaching a Stone to Talk by Annie Dillard. I just read this as part of the Booktubeathon, and yeah, no, not my favorite, but you can, if you watch my wrap-ups every day, you can understand why I didn't like it that much. My Borders copy of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Oh, Borders, I miss you. Pride and Prejudice is okay, but I prefer Bronte's books to Austen's books. Delirium by Lauren Oliver. I did like this book, and I do have Pandemonium. I plan on continuing with the series. Not my favorite, but definitely glad I read it. I Love You, Beth Cooper by Larry Doyle. I think the entire reason I picked up this book was because of the cover. Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I also read this as part of the BookTube-a-thon, and I liked it. It's definitely a dark read, and you won't like any of the characters, but it was still a good read. Girlfriend in a Coma by Douglas Copeland. This was the first book that I read by him, and I really, really liked it, so it's sort of influenced me to pick up some of his other books. He writes quirky books, but that also focus on really, really intense situations, so like somebody's girlfriend being in a coma. Another book by him that I have is Hey Nostradamus. This is about a school shooting. And then lastly on this shelf, I have No Hope for Gomez by Graham Park. This was sent to me for review. It's alright, another really quirky book, so I felt it was appropriate next to Douglas Copeland. Alright, and this is the bottom shelf of my second bookshelf. These are where I keep a lot of my taller hardcover books. So we first have The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling. I was very excited when this came out, ran to the bookstore to get it that night, but didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to. You can find my review of this book on this channel. Then I have High School Confidential, Secrets of an Undercover Student by Jeremy Iverson. This kid who is just graduated university, goes back into the California school system and sort of looks at it objectively as someone who is like looking in on our generation's, students and how they behave versus how we think they behave. It's interesting. Game Change by John Heilemann and Mark Halperin. This is the first book that I ever reviewed on the Get Bookish channel, so feel free to watch that and smile at how I reviewed books a year and a half ago. Sarah Vowell's Assassination Vacation. Fun book. She was the person who voiced Violet in The Incredibles movie. Books by Larry McMurtry. Love, love, love this cover. I hope to have bookshelves like that when I'm older, but it's about his quest to actually collect books, collect old books, and rare books. Insurgent by Veronica Roth is down here because I don't currently have Divergent with me. It's a friend's borrowing it. Actually, Les is borrowing it. She's read it already, but I haven't got it back from her yet. So I'm keeping Insurgent down here with the other hardcovers. Then I have Deja Dead by Kathy Reichs. This is what the Bones TV series is based off of. Kathy Reichs is also a forensic anthropologist, so she writes what she knows. Midnight in Peking by Paul French. I received this as part of a Goodreads giveaway and did a review, but it's the true story of a murder in Peking back in the 1930s, I believe. Pompeii by Robert Harris. This is a fictionalized story surrounding Pompeii. I guess you could call it historical fiction. Death in Yellowstone by L.H. Whittlesey. This is about people who have died in Yellowstone. It's in the same vein as my Caves book. And then right next to that is Over the Edge, Death in the Grand Canyon. And this is by Michael P. Giglieri and Thomas M. Myers. Wild by Cheryl Strayed. Love this book. It's influenced me to look into long-distance hiking, though more responsibly than she did. Another Douglas Copeland book that I have, J-Pod. Love the cover. And Middlesex by Jeffrey Eugenides. I did a review of this book on the channel. There's a lot to say about this book, so definitely go check that out. Then lastly over here I have A Candle, 'Tis the Season. Not going to be burning that right now. Then I have AWOL on the Appalachian Trail by David Miller. He just, wrote about his experience on the trail, and he's one of the top guys in terms of names of people who have hiked. In Falling Snow by Mary Rose McCool. I have a review of this book. It was sent to me by the Book Depository, so I did a review for them. The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. I do not own the other books in the series yet, mostly because I didn't like this book as much as I wanted to. Everybody seems to really, really like this book, and I just couldn't get behind it. And then lastly, I have Columbine by Dave Cullen. I love this cover and the simplicity of it and sort of the vibe that it gives you. It's perfect for the book. This is about the Columbine shooting. Alrighty, up to the top shelf, which is taller than me, pretty much. Over here I have my Nancy Drew collection, my pretty minimal Nancy Drew collection. I have 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 51. So the first one is The Secret of the Old Clock. And these are all by Carolyn Keene. The Hidden Staircase, The Bungalow Mystery, The Secret of Shadow Ranch, which is a buy two get one free deal. Secret of Redgate Farm, The Clue in the Diary, Nancy's Mysterious Letter. Jumping ahead to 51, Mystery of the Glowing Eye. I then have my 2 American Girl collection sets. I've talked about these a fair amount. I have Kirsten's Story Collection and Kit's Story Collection. Those were the 2 American Girl dolls that I owned. I then have the Twilight series minus the Short Second Life of Bree Tanner, which I have read. I have Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, and Breaking Dawn, and those are all by Stephanie Meyer, of course. Over here we have the 4 books in the Face in the Milk Carton series by Caroline B. Cooney. These are really good middle grade mystery stories. This girl discovers that she's the person missing on the milk carton, so she has to figure out if she was kidnapped and raised by fake parents, basically. So the first one is The Face of the Milk Carton. Next is Whatever Happened to Janie, The Voice on the Radio. And then finally, What Janie Found. And I have the entire Bubbles series. This is in the same vein as Stephanie Plum, basically a person you wouldn't expect to solve crimes and mysteries, solves crimes and mysteries. So these are all by Sarah Strohmeyer. We have Bubbles Unbound, Bubbles in Trouble, Bubbles Ablaze, Bubbles Abroad, Bubbles Betrothed, and then finally, Bubbles All the Way. And then in the very corner of my bookshelf down here, we have another candle, and then I have bind-ups of the Chronicles of Chrestomanci by Diana Wynne Jones. The first volume is actually this one, and this one contains the Charmed Life and the Lives of Christopher Chant. That's that cover. And then the second one right here contains The Magicians of Caprona and Witch Week. Finally, in this corner, I have the Millennium Trilogy, so The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Girl Who Played with Fire, and finally, The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. This is a really good dark series by Stieg Larsson, not for the faint of heart, but there's always tons of crazy stuff going on, so it's very interesting. This second shelf is definitely my fantasy shelf. It contains Song of Ice and Fire series and all my books related to Harry Potter over here. So I have, of course, A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin, A Clash of Kings, A Storm of Swords, which is my favorite in the series, A Feast for Crows, then finally my awesome paperback edition of A Dance with Dragons. Before people ask in the comments, I got this outside of the United States, which is why I was able to get a mass paperback copy so early, so that way it actually matched the rest of my collection. And I did indeed buy the 4-pack with the in the cardboard box, but once I read them they expanded so much that I couldn't fit them in the cardboard box anymore. Then I have another candle here. Here are all the books that I have related to Harry Potter. I also conveniently put them on the shelf that is within my eye level. Like, if I walk up to them, this is the first thing that I see is the Harry Potter books. So, I have Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I also have the children's UK edition. I got into the series right as the 4th book came out, and it wasn't in paperback yet in the United States, and my dad went to Wales, so he picked me up a English copy there. And then I eventually went back and bought the matching copy so that it would, the 4th one for the Scholastic edition, so that it would match the rest. And then, of course, you can tell because now I have hardcover for the rest, so these are the ones that I actually went to the midnight releases for. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and my favorite in the series, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I also have an adult Bloomsbury edition of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, mostly because I just wanted to have the two different variants of the covers. My dad went back to England and he bought me this copy. So I've read the story from both these copies as well as the regular Scholastic editions that I'm used to. And then, of course, we have The Tales of Beetle the Bard, as well as Quidditch Through the Ages by Kenilworthy Wisp, and Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by Newt Scamander. I have a little tag from Harry Potter the Exhibition. I went when I was in New York City and I just kept the tag because it's really pretty. I have Harry, A History by Melissa Anelli. This, I just talked about this in my genre exploration, but it's about the Harry Potter fandom and the development of it over the years. And I have MuggleNet.com's What Will Happen in Harry Potter 7. Yeah. These two are really old. I have Harry Potter, You Are the Best, edited by Sharon Moore, and it's just kids like writing letters to Harry about how awesome he is. And then this was a collector's value guide to the Harry Potter collectibles. I don't actually own any Harry Potter collectibles. I'm not sure where I picked that book up, but I've had it for a long time. I also have Conversations with J.K. Rowling, and it's the only authorized biography of J.K. Rowling, and it's like this big. Then I have the Wizarding World Press's Ultimate Unofficial Guide to the Mysteries of Harry Potter. This is an analysis of books 1 through 4, and I did not know that was in here. Bookmark that comes with the book. And then I also have New Clues to Harry Potter Book 5. Lastly, in the very tippy corner here, I have Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban movie poster book. As you can see on the third shelf, I don't currently have any books. It's just issues of National Geographic card. That's my high school diploma back there, which I've turned around so you can't see where I graduated from. I apologize for the bad lighting in the corner. This is another photo that the same friend that took a photo of me with my clarinet. This only has a few books in this corner. I have J.R.R. Tolkien's The Silmarillion, which is boring and not worth your time. The Hobbit, which is awesome and definitely worth your time. And then I have the entire Lord of the Rings series as one, as he originally wanted them published, so it's ginormous. Lord of the Rings is good, not amazing, though. The Hobbit is definitely my favorite of those. And then I have my newly finished Londoners, because I didn't really have any other place to put it, so it just gets to make that area look more colorful. And then in this corner, I only have a few books. This is my 4 books for A Song of Ice and Fire originally came in. I kept the box because I couldn't quite part with it. I have 1,000 Places to See Before You Die. This is the 2nd edition, so the pictures are color and they've been updated and whatnot. 501 Must Visit Destinations, and The Royal Palaces of the World. I have not read either of these 3 coffee table books, but they're smaller, so I just have them in this corner. And then we're at the bottom shelf of my big bookcase, and this is where I keep the majority of my coffee table books. I had those 3 that I just showed you up above, but I have most of these, though there's a mix of ones that I have and haven't read. The first 2 are really, really gigantic, so they stick out. I have The Skylines of the World, and I can't even get this all in one shot. And I also have Skylines of American Cities Yesterday and Today, so there's this Ones of the World and then Ones of the US. Then I have the travel book, A Journey Through Every Country in the World. This is Lonely Planet. I actually did a review of this book on the channel, so feel free to check that out if you're interested. It's a gigantic book with a page for every single country in the world. Then I have my DK 24/7 books. I have America 24/7 with a really embarrassing family photo on the cover, because you can get special covers made. Yeah, that was me, my sister, my mom, and my dad. And then I have Vermont 24/7. I have Texas 24/7 with a cover of with a picture of my friend on the cover because she lived in Texas for a while. So that's why I'm not showing you that, because I don't know if she wants to be on there. And then I have Cats 24/7, and those are my cats that I have. Oreo is the black and white one, and then Mufasa is the orange tiger kitty. Harry Potter film wizardry. I did a review on this book, one of the first ones I ever did on this channel, so check that out. Then I have some comic books. Well, not comic books, but they're like comic strips. Books of comic strips that you would normally find in the newspaper. I have Super Size, which is a Zitz one. I have two Foxtrot ones right here. Foxtrotius Maximus. Foxtrot's my favorite of the ones that's still in the newspaper. Jam-packed Foxtrot. I love the Far Side as well. So I have this one, the Far Side Gallery 4. I have another Foxtrot one, Think I Fruity. And I have one more Far Side one called the Wiener Dog Art. Sorry Everybody, which is an apology to the world for the re-election of George W. Bush. Yup. Then I have the World Cup Companion. This is probably the most expensive book I've ever bought because it has lots of pretty big pictures, but I have read the entire thing. I have Dear Socks, Dear Buddy, which is by Hillary Clinton, and it's kids writing to the pets of the White House. So when they were living in the White House, kids wrote letters to their pets, and so she compiled a book about it. Then I have Weird New England. This is a series of books, but it's basically about all the weird stuff in the New England part of the U.S. Then we have Harry Potter Page to Screen, which is ginormous, and I am currently reading it. It's over 500 pages, but I'm doing all right so far. It's a slow go. The Onions, Our Dumb World, another one that I am currently in the process of reading because, yes, I do have to read all of my coffee table books. This one I'm even farther through, but it's really slow going. 100 Great Wonders of the World, exactly what it says. I have not read this one. Journeys of a Lifetime, 500 of the World's Greatest Trips, which is something put together by National Geographic. Wonders of the World, which is currently holding up the books on either side, so everything's going to collapse if I move it. But this is, yeah, Wonders of the World, big book about that. And then lastly, in this little corner over here, I have a few more books. I have a Children's and Writers and Illustrators Market Guide to Publishing Books back when I actually wrote a book or two and was like interested in getting into this stuff. Small Luxury Hotels of the World. This is just one of those books that you can grab from a hotel lobby, and I just swiped them because I find looking at that kind of stuff really interesting and fun. America the Beautiful, 100 Places to See in Your Lifetime. It's just like a special life issue of the magazine. Resorts and Great Hotels of 2006. The New Cottage Home. I have no idea why I have this book, but this is for somebody who would actually be considering building a cabin, but I just like looking at the pictures. The Newport Mansions book, which my family recently got me when they were there, and I couldn't go because I was abroad. And then lastly, I have the Ultimate Book of Home Plans. Once again, don't really know what made me want to buy these books, but it is really cool to look at the layout and sort of, you know, just get inspiration for things. It's fun. So this is my final bookshelf, my to-be-read pile. It is currently extremely large, larger than normal because I got a recent shipment of books, plus free books, plus books for review, so I have a lot currently sitting here at the moment. Therefore, let's get started. I apologize for the bounciness of this. I can't rest it on my bed and not have it bounce, so I'm just going to hold it. So in this corner, I have Marked by P.C. Cass and Kristen Cass. This is a vampire novel, and I got it as a gift, and I just haven't read it yet because it doesn't really interest me. Pure by Rebecca Roy, just a coming-of-age story, and I've never seen anybody spell their name with 2 B's, so that's kind of cool. Well, anybody spell the name Rebecca with 2 B's. Then I have Magic Hour by Kristen Hanna, another book given to me as a gift that I haven't read yet. And then lastly, Ireland, A Short History by Joseph Kuhil. My friend just had this book and she said, hey, this seems like something you might like to read at some point, so yeah. Working our way over, this is my stack of books that I am currently reading. So obviously Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. I am really close to being done. The Silent Deal by Levi Stack. I just barely started this book the other day. I haven't really read much except for the first few pages. And then I'm currently in the middle of The Sweet Far Thing by Lippa Bray, as I mentioned before, and I am that far. And the bottom is an old National Geographic, which I am currently reading. I'm currently stacking books in the back here. Angels and Demons by Dan Brown. I have read it before, but I listened to it on audiobook, and then someone gave me that copy, so I'm going to read it again. Then we have British Kings and Queens, and this is by Mike Ashley. It's just a history of all the British kings and queens. Pretty self-explanatory. Our Great War, which is about, it's Memoirs of World War II from the Wake Robin community, which is an old folks home near where I live, sort of. So it's like personal stories of World War II. The Complete Idiot's Guide to Backpacking and Hiking by Jason Stevenson. And I have tentative plans to hike the Long Trail next summer, so this is part of that journey. 50 hikes in Vermont, one of which I have done, the other 49 I have not. I would like to hike Mount Mansfield before the end of the summer, though. House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. It's a huge book, and I've had it for a really long time. I started reading it once and just was not in the mood, so it went back on the shelf. The Memory Keeper's Daughter by Kim Edwards. A Map of the World by Jane Hamilton. The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova. Let Me In by John Ajvide Lindqvist. He's Swedish, I believe. That's a vampire story that they made a movie out of recently. The Chronicles of the Black Company. This is a bind-up of The Black Company, Shadows Linger, and The White Rose. This is by Glenn Cook. I picked this up at Borders. It was on sale for really cheap. I think I was just drawn by the fact that it was a really large book and didn't really think about the fact that I'm not a huge high fantasy fan, but I did it anyway. Empire Falls by Richard Russo. My friend Roxy gave this to me and said I needed to read it because it was really good. Another Uncle John's Bathroom Reader. This one is the 4-ply one. I have the second book in the Bartemius trilogy. This is book 2, The Golem's Eye. I read the first one, and this one I kind of stumbled across, and I was told I could keep it because the person didn't want it. I have a copy of the Bible. Someday I will read the Bible just to say that I've read it. I have An Unfinished Life, John F. Kennedy. It's basically a biography, and it is by Robert Dallek. Harry Potter y la Piedra Filosofal. This is the Spanish version of the Philosopher's Stone. So, yeah, I got this back when I was taking Spanish in high school, and I started reading it, and then I stopped reading it. So, I don't know how I do now, considering I've lost a lot of my talent for Spanish, but... The Quincunx by Charles Palliser. This is a really, really complicated book, like a bunch of intertwining stories kind of thing. Lastly on this part is The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. And I have this corner of my shelf down under here. Carrie by Stephen King. This is my mom's old copy, but I really want to read the book. Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rowles. I have not read this, but of course everyone talks about how sad it is and amazing it is. David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. I read Great Expectations and really liked it, so I found my mom's old copy of David Copperfield with, you know, plans to read it sometime in the future. Go Ask Alice by Anonymous. Old copy as well. Where Are the Children? Mary Higgins Clark. It is missing its cover. And then lastly we have Roots by Alex Haley. Homeward Bound, a novel. It's about transatlantic crossings. Elizabeth Walter. An old book that I picked up at a yard sale. These ones are all by David Eddings, and they're all like high fantasy books that I got at a garage sale for cheap. I'm missing books in this series, which I think is part of the reason why I haven't tried to conquer them yet. Just because if I'm missing the books, then obviously that's a bit of a problem. Book 1 and 2 of the Tamuli, Domes of Fire and The Shining Ones. If anybody has read these books, let me know how they are, because I honestly have no expectations regarding these books, and I'm not sure what I should expect. Ruby Knight and the Sapphire Rose, which are books 2 and 3 of the Elenium. Down under here, I have all 4 books in the Malorian. So book 1, The Guardians of the West. Book 2, The King of Murgos. Book 3, Demon Lord of Coranda. And then the last book in the series, book 4 of the Malorian, Sorceress of Darshiva. There may be a 5th one. Once again, I'm not really sure because I'm missing books and I'd have to go through and like read the summaries in terms of these are the books in this series. And then lastly, I have this series. This is the one I think I have all the books for because there's 5 of them. The Belgariad, the Pawn of Prophecy. Book 2, Queen of Sorcery. Book 3, Magician's Gambit. Book 4, Castle of Wizardry. And then lastly, Enchanter's Endgame. So if you've read these books, or any of these series, let me know what you thought of them, since I'm not a huge high fantasy person, but they were super cheap and I got them years ago. Let me know. We have my top shelf with my more recent acquisitions. I just talked about these in a book haul, but this is a bookshelf tour, so I'll talk about them anyway. I got all 10 books in the Georgia Nicholson series from the lovely Sue. So I have Angus Thongs and Full Frontal Snogging. On the bright side, I Am Now the Girlfriend of a Sex God. These are all by Louise Renison, by the way. Knocked Out by Manunga Nungas. Dancing in My Nutty Pants. Away Laughing on a Fast Camel. Then He Ate My Boy in Trancers. Startled by His Furry Shorts. Love is a Many-Trousered Thing. Stop in the Name of Pants. And the last book in the series are these by Bazoombas I See Before Me. So those are all 10 books in the Georgia Nicholson series. I also have Just One Day by Gail Forman. My sister got this book for her birthday on my recommendation, and then I said I wanted to read it after she read it. She really liked it. So for those of you who are thinking about reading this book, read it, because she was very happy with how it ended. And then I have these 3 books, which are very recent acquisitions, sent to me by Random House, because this 3rd book is coming out in October, and Les and I have been asked to do a review of the series so far. So this is the Ashtown Burials by N.D. Wilson. So the first book is The Dragon's Tooth. These are middle grade books, by the way. The Drowned Vault. And then lastly, this is the book To Come, Empire of Bones, and that'll be released in October. So next I have some little mass paperback copies. Orson Scott Card's Ender's Game, as well as Ender's Shadow. Les gave me these, telling me that I needed to read them ASAP. Then I have The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman, The Subtle Knife, and The Amber Spyglass. These are all part of his Dark Materials series. I want to reread them. I have read them, and I didn't own the books though, and I read them when I was in fourth and fifth grade, so it's been a bit. And then lastly, we have Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert A. Heinlein. I've just heard that it's like, if you're going to read science fiction, it's the quintessential one to start reading with. And now for the last little bit of books that I have. Well, there's still a lot, but in comparison. I have God Is Not Great by Christopher Hitchens, How Religion Poisons Everything. The Welsh Girl by Peter Ho Davies. Lola and the Boy Next Door by Stephanie Perkins. We Need to Talk About Kevin by Lionel Shriver. Bill Bryson in a Sunburned Country. Pandemonium by Lauren Oliver. Wanderlove by Kristen Hubbard. The Almost Moon by Alice Sebold. The Passage by Justin Cronin. Love that sparkly cover. Dan Brown's The Lost Symbol. Adventures of a Diamond. This is about the Hope Diamond by Marion Fowler. Neil Gaiman's American Gods, which I've heard a lot about recently. Haruki Murakami's 1Q84. I know, have still not read this, but that is the entire hunk of book right there. The Story of Edgar Sawtelle. This is by David Roblewski, and it was Oprah's book club choice. Oh boy. The Distant Hours by Kate Morton. The Mysterious Flame of Queen Loana by Umberto Eco. I really like this cover too. Over here I have a couple collections. This is where Wuthering Heights came from, and since there's more books that I haven't read from the series, I'm keeping them in here, minus Wuthering Heights. So I have Agnes Grey by Anne Bronte, The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne as well. I have Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and then The Professor, also by Charlotte Bronte. Then I have the Uglies series by Scott Westerfeld. I have read Uglies and Pretties before, but I wanted to reread them. So we have Uglies, Pretties, Specials, and lastly the companion novel that takes place in the same world but is not actually part of the same trilogy is Extras. Very last part is the entire Chronicles of Narnia series. I have read these before back when I was in 4th grade, but now I own them, so I do want to read them again. And I have really, really nice quality editions. These are by C.S. Lewis. So I have The Magician's Nephew, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, The Horse and His Boy, Prince Caspian, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, The Silver Chair, and lastly, The Last Battle.
yes, I have a lot to read.
Alrighty, so that concludes my bookshelf tour. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions about any of the books, feel free to leave them in the doobly-doo. We, as of course, have all of our links down there. We have our Goodreads, our Twitter, Book Depository, our email. If you feel so inclined, have a look at those. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you later.